Hi everybody, Miss A here. Again, today is April 16th, 2020. So coming at you again with a bit more CodeHS. Today we're going to get into the really beautiful world of functions. Functions are just such a spectacular topic. I don't know, like they are what make programs come alive. They are what really gives you that amazing creative feeling that comes with this. Like it's what takes this hunk of plastic and metal and silicon and turns it into this amazing thing that lets me simultaneously program and stream all of this stuff to you in extremely high quality instantaneously like magic. None of that happens without functions. This is just like the essence of what it means to write a program. This is one of those topics that you have to learn it really well, especially for a language like JavaScript. Like functions are what make JavaScript run. And all right, let's get on with it. So I'm going to pick the slides, but as you can see, right, you can watch these right here on YouTube. I will put a link in the description. I think that's a thing streamers say, right? Okay, so let's take a look. So Karel can't turn right. So this has been kind of an issue over the last two lessons. All right, press the wrong thing. Oh. Okay, here we go. So Karel's going to make a tower. If you've been following along with your lessons, you should have finished this exercise by now. Fairly simple. Karel moves. He has to put ball down. He turns. He puts two more balls down. The issue here is, right, he can't turn right. Like, let's say we want him to face forward to move forward. Like, what we would have to do is we have to take him around 3 times, right? 1, 2, 3. Each one's a quarter turn. So kind of imagine, like, again, if you're in New York City or, I don't know, probably most places, if you've got like a squarish block, right, and you're trying to deal with, one-way streets, sometimes this is a thing you have to do. When you can't make a right turn, sometimes you got to make 3 lefts. So basically the idea here is there's something Karel doesn't know, but we can define it in terms of 3 things that he does know. So that's the idea here. If you've ever wondered about a certain word, and you were to go and look it up in the dictionary, let's see, like you look up the word supercilious, and you're like, oh my God, what does that mean? And then you go to the dictionary and it says of or pertaining to being supercilious. And you're like, right, that's a problem, right? If I knew what the word supercilious meant, I would not have had to go look it up in a dictionary. So whatever dictionary is using the word to define itself is doing everything wrong. The idea with the dictionary definition is to teach you what a word means in terms of other words that you understand or could look up. So that's always the idea, right? First off, like we are always thinking about other things that we can bring into this, right? We cannot teach him to turn right by asking him in any way to turn right. We have to do it in terms of other things that he understands how to do. Okay, so these are functions. A function, it is like a command. It's like a collection of code right? I kind of liken it to teaching somebody how, like asking someone to make a sandwich, right? If I want a BLT, I'm not going to say, okay, first, if I just want the sandwich, I'm asking at the bodega or the deli, right? I'm not going to say, all right, take 2 pieces, take out some bread, some bacon, some lettuce, some tomatoes, some mayonnaise, some mustard. Take out 2 slices of the bread, take out a pan, turn up the heat on your stove and cook up the bacon. Blah, 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 right? This could be, depending on how detailed you want to get, how seriously you take your BLTs or your bodega sandwiches, which honestly, like if we're talking coronavirus right now, I think that's one of the biggest things that I miss is bodegas, or like the bodega sandwich that I would get every day in the morning. But anyway, right, if I want a BLT, I am not going to give every single instruction. If there's something I do or like a specific instruction I have, like I might want to be able to tell him some details, right? I might want to ask the guy behind the counter, like, hey, can you go really light on the mustard, or like give me a little bit of mustard and like, I don't know, a slice of onion, whatever. I can give extra details, but the basics of the BLT should be there, or at least like the basic idea of a sandwich, right? Or, I could order a sandwich, but I could say a turkey sandwich, a roast beef sandwich, right? There might be some way that I can communicate extra information. But the idea is I'm taking all these instructions, right? Making a sandwich, when you break it down enough, maybe try this out as an exercise. Try to write down every single step, like every step. Depending on how detailed you want to go, even just making a sandwich can be like dozens, I am not kidding you, dozens and dozens of different instructions. So this is what a function does, right? Instead of having to write down dozens and dozens of instructions every time we want to make or order a sandwich, right? If the lines at the bodega were as bad as they were, and then now everybody has to like actually shout out like 15 different instructions to the guy every time they want a sandwich, it would be a disaster, right? This is why we use functions. We take a big long list of instructions, we slap a name on it, and now instead of giving the 15 lines, I just ask, hey, I want a BLT with some mayo and light mustard, something like that. So this is the idea here. So these are functions. You might be familiar with that term from algebra. In algebra, it's kind of the same thing. Like we have some rule, we can put something in and get something out. Computer functions are a little bit looser. These functions don't necessarily need to take anything in. You can just say turn right. You don't have to specify any other information. But, it's still, it does something. It also doesn't necessarily, put anything out. But, it is a set of rules and instructions, right, that lead to an outcome. So in that, the further along you get with the programming, the more and more actually, the relationship with algebra is going to become a bit clearer. But so just like in algebra, functions have names like turn right and then parentheses, right? They always have parentheses. We'd always have like f of x. Ooh, whiteboard time. This is another thing I miss about actually being in the brick and mortar school. I miss using these whiteboards all the time, right? So we have the name and then the parentheses. Hopefully, let me check the preview. Is this, okay, it looks like in the preview that this is kind of okay. But go ahead and let me know if it's not. Sorry, we've got a name. Function's got a name and it's got the parentheses. And in algebra, like I said, something has to go in. Whereas in the computer, not necessarily anything has to go in for this to work. And the way that you define, like, this is the start and the stop of my list of directions, like when I'm like, here's how you make a sandwich, right? I want to know, like, where all of those are, like, especially say if I'm writing down those instructions, maybe then I'm writing something before or after the instructions. So the way we write this is it starts with this word function. You name the function. So let's define a function called turn right, slap those parentheses on there, which we're not using now, but we will in the future. And then we use these curly braces. And the curly braces, I liken it to kind of like a paragraph, the way you might put like a line of spacing before and after a paragraph in an essay. We're basically just defining where this single grouped together jumble of code starts and stops. And so we can separate it off from the rest of our program. And like it was in the first two lessons, every single line on the inside, like that goes inside the function, is going to have these semicolons at the end, like periods, right? So it's like the braces are like the paragraph, the start and stop of a paragraph, and the semicolons are like the end of a sentence. And notice all the turn lefts, they are indented one space. And the ending brace is right below that function. So basically, when you're looking at your code, you should be able to tell where that function definition started and stopped, right? It should start at function, and then you just follow it straight down, and that's where it should be ending. This will probably take you a while to get used to. Thankfully, CodeHS is really good. It will sort of yell at you a little bit in a very subtle and gentle way if you happen to forget them. But again, you know, sometimes it's not easy to tell what the error is trying to tell you. So in those cases, again, please hit the help button in CodeHS and you'll be okay. I'll show you that help button when we start looking at the example. Okay, so right, and remember, the idea is we want to use turn right, right? We're going to have this whole like second phase to this. So it's like if I give you the instructions, like when I say the word barnacle, I want you to like hop up and down. Right? If I don't follow up that instruction with anything, if I just sit there staring at you, it's like I told you what something means. I never actually asked you to do it, right? Those are two totally separate activities. Okay, so let's take a look at this example. Okay, so this is basically the example that they just had in the code. So as we can see here in line 9, right now there is a turn right command. I believe in the first version, let's take a look. I believe in the first version we just did like 3 turn left commands. Oh, never mind. That was an exercise. You guys have to do that one on your own. But more than likely, that's how you did it. In this example, now there is a turn right command. And what happens is, right, let's go through this one step at a time. Karel is going to start by moving to the 2nd Avenue. He's going to turn left so that he can start moving upwards. He puts a ball down, moves, puts a ball down, moves, puts a ball down, moves. Notice that repetition, put ball, move, put ball, move, put ball, move. 3 times the same pair of commands. That's going to be really useful in a few lessons. Then, or it can also be a good way to recognize things that might go well in a function. Functions are good at repeating, but we don't typically do them like this, where it's just like one, say like turn right, turn right, turn right, turn right. or it's not going to be something that you'll find yourself doing too much per se. Anyway, before this gets away from me. So he's moved, he's at the end, and now we want him to turn right. So what's going to happen? He sees this turn right command, and then he says, well, I'm a dumb dog, and like I vaguely remember somebody shouting this word at me, so let me look it up in my memory. It says, oh yeah, I'm supposed to turn left, turn left, turn left. So basically every time, right, let's say I add in another turn right command. Let's say I want him to like go back down. I add another turn right. So what happens? It's reset. He goes, we do the first turn right, and now we're going to enter and do turn right again. So just like every time this turn right command is used, he goes and looks it up and does the instructions that are provided for him. So that's the idea with functions. Ideally, you're going to want to think of this in terms of, like when you're thinking about, well, what functions do I want to write? You're going to be wanting to think about these in terms of like things that correspond to parts of the project or parts of the problem, more so than like just giving it a name that like, or like doing it in a way that just like describes a set of actions. Like one thing I see students do a lot is like function and something like move 3 times. Okay. And it's just like move, 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 which is fine. You know, that's there. But better than this is if I can make it have to do with part of the problem. So in this case, like something like make tower would be really awesome, because what is there in this picture? Karel needs to move to the right spot, then he needs to make a tower, and then he needs to end sitting on that tower, looking, you know, forward out upon his domain. So if I say something like make tower, this is going to make a lot more sense, right? I would have to like put in some put ball commands. Really, I mean, it's already in here. So for instance, I could just, you know, copy or like cut and paste this. Control C to copy, Control V to paste. If you're on a PC, if you're on a Mac, that's going to be Command C to copy, Command V to paste, or X to cut on both. So like something like this. And then I could just replace this whole chunk of code like so. So this is why a function can be really useful, or is like most useful when it's describing like actual things in the problem, right? Instead of just doing like, you know, put 3 balls, right? We have like make tower. And when we say make tower, it literally is taking care of the whole operation of making the tower, right? The name is what it does. So let me check back on YouTube. All right. Doesn't look like anybody's watching, and nobody's in the chat. I'm going to say something in the chat. Hi, chat. Like, it's lonely out here streaming when you're like just starting this. This is weird. I know a lot of my students, maybe some of you who might be watching this in the future, used to tell me at school that you wanted to do this as a career. Interesting vibe. So this is how we make a function. I'm going to kind of call it short here. Please, if you do watch this, please, I hope it's useful, and work on the exercise, okay? If you have any issues, oh yeah, I promised I would show you where you could ask for help. So under like grade, there can be a conversation. Under more, under this more button, you might see that there. So this is the idea. You can ask me questions there. You can ask me, hit me up on Google Chat if you're one of my students. All right. Hope you guys have a wonderful day.